Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Kizer Minitherium. As the name would indicate, it is a smaller version of the Megatherium, which was a very popular. It kind of put Elijah Isham on the map. I believe it might have been his first collaboration production design. First, also made by Kizer. It's much larger than this. I never experienced it. It is not a knife that really that big appeals to me, so I just didn't get it. But this one really did. This one clicked, and I thought, oh, I might really like this. I will say, it took a bit doing this video. I took a bit of time before I decided to put my thoughts to megabytes, as they say, my thoughts to pixels. I've had a weird thing with Isham Designs. A lot of his I see on Instagram. I see him on the companies that he collaborates with. I want them. I get them. I immediately love them. And then after a month or two, they just kind of fall out of favor and go away. That happened to me with a Zeta that I had on a long-term loan that from We Knives. It happened with the Kizer Theta that I owned. It happened with the his own Isham Blade Works Black Star slip joint. Same thing happened. I had it for a bit and I let it go. There's nothing wrong with them. I see why people love them, but it's just something that I love them aesthetically. And then there's always just something that after a while, I don't hate them, but I just don't carry them and I let them go. This one I thought clicked a lot of boxes where maybe that would change, and I wanted to have it in my pocket for a while to know if that was going to be the case before I did the review. We'll find out as we go on whether or not that happened or is going to happen. Let's do some stats before we get too much farther. This is not a terribly large knife, which is another thing I like. Obviously, Minitherium, but I thought Minitherium, compared to the Megatherium, Megatherium's gigantic. Mini could just be still a pretty big knife. No, this is I would call this mini. 7.1 inches of overall length, 3 inches of blade length. You have a blade thickness of 0.12 inches, very thin blade stock. You have a handle thickness of 0.45 inches. And a weight of, according to my scales, dead on exactly 3 ounces. Let's do some size comparisons here. And then we'll talk a bit more about the design of this knife. You have against your Spyderco Sage 5. You can see, Sage 5 isn't a giant knife. Pretty similar overall length, obviously a lot taller. And then we will do your another knife in this kind of size category. Your Ontario Rat Model 2. Again, pretty similar overall length. Your Kershaw Copper Natrix, a little bit bigger than the Copper Natrix. Your Benchmade Saibu. I'm trying to rotate these through pretty quick because this is a knife that a lot of people haven't seen in person, so it's a little bit bigger than the Saibu. It's going to be taller than all of these, just spoiler alert, but we're just trying to get an idea of the length. Your Mastrop Ferrum Forge Crux, which is dirty. Didn't notice that. I apologize. And we'll do our one standard. We always have to do your Spyderco Paramilitary too. So quite a bit smaller than that. Now the overall design of this knife, I love the way it looks. I was very attracted to the overall look of it. I like the look of the Megatherium. And this is very true to just being a scaled down Megatherium. And I really loved the overall look of that. But this I like more. The material choices on the Megatherium were a partial carbon or a full tie. They both looked okay, but they didn't really appeal to me. This has this beautiful unidirectional carbon, which I assure you this video is not doing justice. It is gorgeous. Really love it. Liner lock instead of a frame lock. I like it. I'm not always a big fan of the quote-unquote pops of color, but I don't mind it on this one at all. I like this nice kind of, I don't know what you call that, anodized periwinkle blue, something like that. I don't know. It's kind of a denim blue. I do like that a whole lot. You have the Isham logo, Minitherium on one side of the blade, the Kizer logo on the other. Some people will complain about billboarding, but you know what? This blade's got room for it. So I can't really complain about that too much. Looks pretty cool closed too, I have to say. I do like that. I like all the angles in the design. I really like it. Now, one reviewer really blasted this thing, as my fingers are slippery. He really blasted it because the blade stock's thinner than the Minitherium, and the handle's thinner than he wanted just a Minitherium that was just shorter. I didn't, so I'm glad about that. But if you are expecting this to be the big, beefy brute that the Minitherium was, but smaller, it kind of isn't. It's got a lot of concessions to making it more EDC friendly, and some of those are making the handle thinner, making the blade stock thinner. That's just the way it is. I like that. Speaking of, let's get right into stuff about it. The blade on this, I've come to really like. It's, as I said, it's only 0.12 inch blade stock. It's only 22 thousandths behind the edge, so not too bad. It's not super thin, but it doesn't really need to be because it's got a very high flat grind and pretty thin blade stock, and this thing slices awesome. It's a very good slicer. I used it the other day. I was chopping up some garlic. It worked great on that. Almost as good as a kitchen knife, and it works really good for food prep because, as you can see, the blade is below anything. So cutting on a surface, it is outstanding. It works really well. It's got the tip's a bit flimsy, but it's not bad. You have a swedge going down most of the way. It's not too bad. Yeah, sharpening choil's very good. It misses the plunge there, so that's excellent. Yeah, excellent blade on this thing. It's a really good slicer, as it should be, being that tall and that, that high of a flat grind. And also very sharp out of the box. It came out very good. Do I have some paper here? Yes. We'll grab some because people complain because I haven't been doing this, so we'll do it. Yep, works great. I'm very happy with the blade on it. It's probably my favorite thing about this knife is that blade is just great. Next up for ergonomics, it's pretty good. That's the thing with the Ishems that sometimes I love at first and then I kind of get tired of. But this one I've actually started to like more as I've handled it. I've gotten used to kind of how to use it. Ishem has always said he goes ergos first and designs back from there, but sometimes they don't work with my particular hands well, but this one really does. I've got very long fingers, but skinny ones, and fits in my hand really well as you expect to grab it. Thumb lands right in that thumb ramp, exactly where I'd want it to be, and it works great for what you're going to use a 3-inch knife for. It just works really well. As said, food prep, it works great. You just put it on the edge of the counter. It works fantastic. You can choke up on it, at least with my fingers I can. I don't know if everyone's going to be able to. If you've got big fat fingers, you might not be able to. I don't know if this is meant to be a place to rest your thumb, but it certainly looks like it. And it does work okay. I use that for opening boxes and things like that. And it's been pretty good. No real hot spots at all. Maybe a little bit from the clip, but not bad. But I will say that it is a pretty unique ergonomics. As you can see, my 2 fingers fit there just right. Yours might not. I'm not going to lie about that or try to overshadow that and say this is a knife that's going to fit everybody. I think there definitely will be some people whose hands just don't fit it well. But they fit mine pretty darn well. Really like it. Ergonomically. Next up, as far as the carry, it carries pretty good. I mean, it is tall for sure. We're looking at over 1.5 inches in height. So yeah, it's when you put it in your pocket, it definitely takes up a little bit of room, but it's not too bad because also it's super slim. The handle thickness is very thin, and the clip is great. Clip works awesome. Here, we'll put it in the. This is going to make some noise because I have some stuff on top of ye old Wranglers. I forgot I was doing a review and didn't get those out. As you can see, we'll try and demonstrate this as best we can. It's so hard to get stuff in the pocket when it's not attached to your body. You have a fair bit sticking out, but it's very innocuous. As I said, most of us are wearing jeans most of the time. Let's be honest, we're Americans. And that color, like I said, blue jean blue, blends right in with everything. But as you see, here's on these particular pants. This is the edge of the pocket where my hand is. and this is the edge of the knife. So you still have plenty of room to get your hand by there to get stuff, and the handle thickness is thin enough you can get behind it to get to stuff in the bottom of your pocket too. I never found it to be a problem carrying it. I really kind of expected it to be, expected to carry pretty bad, and it carries okay. So that's better than I expected. Deployment wise, this is where I like this better than the Theta that I had. The Theta, I eventually got the detent dialed in pretty good, but this one is as good as I got the Theta out of the box, and I haven't touched it much yet. I haven't taken it apart. I did drip some oil in there because I just always do by reflex, but it is super smooth. But the detent is good, and it works for all the various deployment methods. Isham likes to have multiple deployment methods. Thumb flicks well. Spidey flicks well. It does all the things you want to do, and it's pretty easy to do in all those ways too. You don't need like a whole lot of special technique or anything. This is just operating like normal. The detent's not super strong, but I think it's pretty good, and I think it will. If I dialed it a little bit, I could probably get it to be a little bit stronger, but I don't think I'm gonna. I think it's good enough as it is, which I didn't feel that way with the Theta. I did initially when I first played with it, and then after a couple of weeks I thought, no, I do have to mess with it, and I messed with it and it got better, but then after a while, yeah, as I said before, I let it move on. But I like the detent on this better. And lastly, as far as quality and stuff goes, you know, it's you could see in the pictures, it's really good. It comes with all that new Kizer stuff. Of course, do I have the box right here? I do. No, I do not. That was one thing I did not get out for this. But you guys seen it in other previous Kizer reviews. You want to go back and look at those. They have the cool little sarcophagus magnet box that opens up, and it comes with a little slip cover and stuff. The packaging and stuff, the presentation is outstanding. And $195 is what this costs with S35 VN, a whole lot of carbon fiber. I'm okay with that. I think that's pretty good. I don't think it's a bargain, but I don't think it's a ripoff by any means either. Because all this, once you see one in person, all this carbon it's really pretty, and that's not cheap. There's a whole lot of milling and multiple angles on it and all those things. I really do like it, and I think this is an Isham that is going to stick around for a lot longer than the other ones did. This one has bonded with me in a way that the previous ones that I have had have not. So you'll probably see a lot more of this. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. I've been Brian. Have a good one.